Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what to tell you, because whatever your expectations of this program were, whatever your expectations of this process were, I am here to blow them out of the water. If your expectations were here, I'm going to deliver this. And it's been my, for me, it's almost hard to put into words how much has gone into this thing, because not only is this the most complicated, in-depth, and challenging program I've ever made in my entire life, right? And I've been doing this for 4 years, or at least the education company side of things. The amount of money, time, and resources that has gone into this platform, I'm not going to be able to put it into words. And maybe some of you guys who have a software background, you'll understand the complexity that goes into building a custom community, building real-time leaderboards, building, all of these little proprietary softwares here and there, building the infrastructure for plug and plays, even just search function, and doing it in a feathered way where, one certain thing has more weight than the other one. Maybe some of you guys may understand, but this is history. Like, you really are a part of history. And I know you have put full faith and trust in me, and it is an honor. It really is. And I don't take this lightly. And that's why, to be honest, at Gray Agency, we were already at the top of the education space in our industry. We didn't need to do what we've done. I didn't need to pour over $1.5 million in R&D cost, in developer cost, literally a year to even find the team that can make this happen. Like, the amount of stress and effort that's gone into this, and the amount of talent I've had to pull together. I mean, even you see in terms of production quality, and the fact that I have a full-time editor, Tristan, who's amazing, been at my company working for well over a year now. His entire life has been consumed by this for 4 or 5 months, 6 months. That's all he's done. Wake up, edit AN, go to bed, wake up, edit AN. And he's just done that again and again and again. So everything from the platform, the tools, the community, all the way down to the production value. This has been a grand vision of mine for a long time, and I'm so happy that I can finally show you this, because to me, this is something that's so important to the industry, to the culture. So with no further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Agency Navigator. In today's module, we are going to go over the program principles. Now, in today's teaching, we are going to go over the dance between education, software, and community, how this will be different to anything you've ever experienced, how to get support inside of Agency Navigator, the community and leaderboards and how they work, the track record of this program, our full circle approach at Gray Agency, how to guarantee failure, the pitfalls to watch out for, as well as how to guarantee success. Ladies and gentlemen, real quick, I want to talk about the impact on the culture. I kind of touched on this briefly, but as I said, if you're in this program, you really are a part of history. And I'm a person who's very self-aware. And in 2018, I had a course business, right? As some of you guys who know, this is the third kind of iteration of this program. At first, there was 6-figure SMA, then there was Agency Incubator, and now Agency Navigator, right? 6-figure SMA, when that was around, really that was just a course business. And the thing about that, that business was super easy to run. I was making a ton of money from it. And I actually ended up putting way less money in my pocket by turning it into an education company and bringing on all of the staff, and then also starting with all the stuff that we do in Nepal and building schools and really building a mission for the company. But to me, I thought it was important, right? And it was amazing in 2019 and in 2020, and then as well in 2021, it was an education company. Gray Agency was an education company, and that really elevated us. And that was really why we've been able to stay on top for as long as we have. But ladies and gentlemen, if I died accomplishing what I had with Gray Agency, it was amazing. We've helped so many people. It's ridiculous. And we have a success rate like no one else. But did we really accomplish something that's never been done in the industry before? Like, really innovate in a way that's never been done? No. And that is why I have gone through all of this drama, effort, time, money, and my team has too. I mean, I've worked my team to the bone the last 18 months, the last 24 months to make this happen. And why? Because as I said, for me, this is so important for the industry. This fusion of, you come into a program and it's no longer just a program. You have your community, but it's a custom community. It's all under one roof. And the most important thing as well is tools, right? So not only can I give you the information, the knowledge, the community, all that, but I can also give you the tools. And then outside of that, we also have the gamification of the leaderboards. So that way, real time, you always know when there's wins, when there's debriefs. And that's just, ladies and gentlemen, this is just V1 of the platform. I mean, if you look at V1 of this program, basically 6-figure estimate, and you compare that to Agency Navigator, the V3, totally different story, right? So now it's at a point where being a great agency student is almost like being a Tesla owner. And sometimes you're just going to get a notification of, hey, we gave you this new free bonus course, or there's this new tool that you can now use. We're just going to airdrop it to you, and you'll never know when. And this is all possibilities that have opened up now that I've built this platform. So I really need you to take this in. This is not a program. This really is a lifestyle. And to me, you're not a student. You're a part of a culture. And as I said, I am so honored that you have trusted me in this process. And myself and my team have worked around the clock tirelessly to make sure that whatever your expectations are, no matter how high they are, we will exceed them. As I said, I'm here for you. My team is here for you. And this community is here for you. Now, speaking of support, let's talk about the best way to get it. Now, the best thing to do if you have a question or you want an answer, this or that, is rewatch the program. Now, I know that that is easier said than done, but we have made it as efficient and effective as possible with our new search function. So whenever you want, just log into the portal, and on the top right, you're going to be able to look through the search function. Now, when you look through that search function, basically the way it works is we have gone ahead and made a transcript for every single live Q&A call, every single module. Of course, all the plug and plays are transcripted. So that way you can actually select, what you're looking at. And let's say you just want to look at outreach and you just want to see specifically from modules inside of Agency Navigator, you're going to be able to select, and based on the index, because we have some points that we cover and that's below each module, based on that you'll be able to go and you'll be able to look at, let's say for example you want to look at Instagram outreach. You can type that in, and if there's a plug and play, it'll show up. Obviously if there's a module where I mention it or it's in the little index of what we cover in that module, then it'll be there and it'll direct you straight into that module. Or let's say you've missed a couple Q&A calls and you just want to see if anything in the past few weeks, we've covered ads. You can just look at that as well, and you can look at when we mentioned it in the Q&A calls. So this is a tool that, by the way, is in full refinement again and again and again. As I said, with us, it's almost like being a Tesla customer where, day one, there may be a few chinks here and there, and you might be watching this a year into Agency Navigator launching, and you're like, what chinks? Like everything works seamlessly and perfectly. Or you may be, watching this in day one. And if that's the case, obviously, please bear with us. Every single week we're rolling out new updates, fixing glitches, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, within 3 months of this program launching, like that thing works seamlessly. And even from all the testing that we've done over the last 6 months, 12 months since we built out that tool, it all works perfectly. So that's the first best way to get support, is re-watch the program. Second is the plug and plays. As I said, when you use that search function, well, there's two things you can do. You can either use that search function and you'll just be able to search it up and select whether it's a plug and play, or you can just go straight into plug and play section within the portal. And then from there, you're going to be able to see Agency Navigator. And then based on the different phases, you'll be able to see, all the plug and plays listed. Now, if those two are not sufficient, then the next best place to go is our custom community, right? You have the best industry leaders on earth in this program, whether they're public about it or not. And, still 50% of the industry leaders can still be tracked back to us. But the other 50%, back in the day when we used to use Teachable, we have all of our students listed in there. There is not a single industry leader who has not learned from us, right? So what you have is a hive mind of the smartest agency owners on earth. And we're here to help you, right? And that's really the big thing that I've always wanted to foster with this community and with this new custom community is having a place that's really optimized for no distractions and really a place where people can have the high-level conversations that they want to have. So if you have any questions at all, go ahead and post it in the community. My team at the agency is actually in there, right? So we're going to be answering questions, and myself, I pop in occasionally, and I also answer some questions in there. So that's the next best place to go. Now, if that doesn't work for you and you need a little bit more nuance, then come to one of the Q&A calls. Now, if you go ahead and you check in the portal, you'll actually find a Q&A calls section tab, and that'll show you the next time that we do Q&A calls. It's either once or twice a week. At first, we're starting with once, and then we're actually looking to ramp up to twice a week for the Agency Navigator students. So you're going to be able to look at the next Zoom call, and these Zoom calls are basically group environment. You raise your hand and you're unmuted and speaking to myself or my team one-on-one. And then after those things are done, they're always uploaded into the Q&A call recording section, so you can watch those whenever you want. If you missed if you missed one of them because you had a dinner or you had something going on, whatever it may be, you can always refer back to those as you like. And then lastly, if you have sort of a more technical question or a billing question or anything like that, just go ahead and email support@greatancy.com. You know, my amazing customer support lead will get back to you within 24 to 36 hours. So as I said, ladies and gentlemen, that is the best way to get support if you need any additional support inside of Agency Navigator. Let's go ahead and run through some of the rules as a part of the community. Now, a lot of the rules that we had in place that were sort of harder to moderate before, you know, now that we have a custom community and we don't use Facebook group or this or that, it's a lot easier. So let's just go ahead and run through some of these rules, or I guess sort of more requests, because for me, I am very protective over this community. And I know that one bad apple can spoil it all. So that's why we are very, very protective. And that's why we have some of these requests in place. Request number 1, always try to answer someone else's question before you ask one yourself. And there is, you know, that's rule number 1. Rule number 2, which kind of ties into this, is only answer a question if you have 100% certainty on the answer. Let's say, for example, someone has a question about some sort of technical thing that you just remember, hey, it was mentioned in this module. Then you can go ahead and say that, right? Because all you're doing is referring back to something I said. Or let's say someone has a question about some outreach thing and you're like, oh, in this module, Iman actually said this specific thing pertaining to it. That's very useful, right? Because you're almost indexing for people. Or let's say someone has a question about LinkedIn and you genuinely have a lot of knowledge in LinkedIn and you can pitch in and kind of, you know, chime in and help, then obviously go ahead and do it. But if you're giving some sort of half-hearted advice that really isn't your area of expertise, then maybe just mention that and then do it, right? So there's kind of 2 rules inside there. So the reason I'm saying go ahead and answer someone's question before you ask one of your own is because that law of reciprocity, you know, you may think that's not, you in isolation may think that's not powerful. But when our community is, you know, hundreds and thousands of people, you know, if everyone holds these same values, that's why over the years, the Great Agency community, it's like a known fact. If you're a part of the Great Agency community, like it's, I mean, as you guys know, like on social media, I'm very quirky. I talk about things that most people will be so afraid to talk about. I talk about some very intense things. Another thing is, of course, I post a lot of business content, but you know, I'd say probably 50% of the content that I put out there is very, it's stuff that you need a lot of critical thinking for. So the sort of person that is attracted to myself and Great Agency as a company, you know, we're usually, not to stroke your ego. Actually, no, fuck it. I'm going to stroke your ego. Like, you're cut above. I know you're cut above. I know that for a fact, because I know that, you know, if you want to come in here and make a quick buck and you thought that money is going to fix all your problems, and if you came in here and you thought that, you know, everything is just very tactical and it's just like, you know, you just need a hack or a trick or this, that, like, you would not be attracted to myself because half the stuff that myself and Great Agency post, it's very like, it takes a lot of critical thinking. So as I said, I know you're cut above. I know that about you immediately. And the reason I'm going on a bit of this tangent is really just to say that, like, this community has been fostered over a few years. And the way that we make sure that this community continues to stay at the standard that it is by abiding by some of these principles. The next rule for the community is always welcome new members and celebrate other people's successes, right? So celebrate their debriefs, or even if it's not a debrief, you know, maybe something else that they posted. The reason this is so important is because, like, I'm sure you can, well, I guess you're going through this process right now, but in 9 months, don't forget that feeling that you had when you came to this program, when you're like, of course you're excited, but you're also nervous and you're a little scared. And like, other people are going through that. And they, you know, when people do their welcome posts, like I don't know, it's like, they're almost, they feel very like exposed, right? So make sure you're always welcoming people to a community. So that way, when they come in and they do their welcome post, they're like, oh, wow, this is really what Great Agency is about. Okay. The next thing is no promotions or, you know, general farming for your own self-benefit. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been in this industry for 4 years. It's very obvious when someone is putting out a value post, not because they want to share and it's coming from a good place, but because, you know, they basically just want to repackage some content in this program and, you know, put a fancy name to it and go, oh, I'm a this and this expert. Ladies and gents, you know, at Great Agency, we've seen it all. And luckily, with the way that we've structured the community, I mean, we might change it a little bit later down the line, but the way that we've structured the community is everything is open source. It's the other thing, if you're sharing from a genuine place, why would you not have it there? So, you know, like, let's say you really want to share something that's worked for you. Have it there. Let everyone else see, right? Like, I don't, you know, when it's a real community, there should actually be no need for private conversations and this and that. Just share what's working openly. So with that rule, you know, luckily with the new platform, we've kind of mitigated it, but nonetheless. The next sort of rule, or I prefer guiding principle, is no negativity or complaining, okay? Feel free to vent or share that, you know, I've been having a bad month and this has happened. You know, for me, that's like, you can share that, you know, maybe you're at a more difficult part of your journey. Or let's say it's been 6 months and you still haven't signed a client, and you're seeing people sign clients within a month or 2 months, and you're like, you know, what's wrong with me? What's the issue? But like, that's okay. As long as the undertone is still, hey, I'm still fighting, I'm still striving, and I just want to share this with you guys. Maybe has someone else experienced this? There's a big difference between that and like, oh, you know, woe is me, like, you know, I've done this and this and this, and it's just nothing's working, and blah, blah, like, you know, they come from two different energies and, you know, two very different places. And, you know, ladies and gents, I've had my ups and downs over the last 5 years of running my agency. Never was it coming from a place of negativity or whining or complaining. It was like, yeah, man, this is shit. You know, I've gone through periods where I've lost 50% of my clients in literally a week. Well, I was going to say a weekend, but I think it was like 72 hours. You know, 50% of my clients. You know, and that's just bottom line, pure profit. At that point, you know, I didn't have any contractors, full-time employee. So, you know, whatever it is, I've been there over the last 5 years. So, just as long as